So good evening. We are going to be starting part 2 of pediatrics. Here we have a 4-year-old boy. This is a cardiology case, and when you read through, it does discover that there's uh, diastolic murmur in this 4-year-old patient, showing us machine murmur. Machine murmur is typical for patent ductus arteriosus, and that is converting that word to English. It means open arterial duct here, which marks as the correct answer. So you can read other things actually, but when I see machine murmur in the question, I think of patent ductus arteriosus, that is open arterial duct. Alright, this is a case of a patient that are taking homemade stockfish and beef, and thereafter developed certain things like weakness, nausea, dizziness, vision impairment. Most likely in botulism, it will be double vision, and so on. So they're asking us what therapy are we going to give. So since we have suspicion of botulism in this case, we treat with antibotulinic serum. So that's give the serum. It's a toxin, so botulinum toxin. So you give a serum to counter that. Alright, please let's pay very good attention to this question. This is first non-complicated pregnancy, and yet notice that the mother is having rhesus negative group A, and child is also group A rhesus positivity. So this is not about group conflict, but we're having rhesus positive child. But this is first pregnancy, and you will discover that the rhesus incompatibility is not so conspicuous. It's not so obvious in first pregnancy because the mother has not developed enough antibody and sensitization. In second, third pregnancy, if treatment is not given, that it will become more severe. So if you notice that the blood volume of this child is good, it's normal, hemoglobin is 200. So, and the bilirubin level is not so elevated. On the second day, there appeared jaundice. You know that you can have physiological jaundice appearing on second, third day and disappear at 7 to 10 days. So this is not really a problem. But the question is, why is the child on the third day having such neurological status as nystagmus, Graffier sign, urea, physis, and so on? But this, why are we having such neurological status? Majorly one thing can account for it in this case, and that is going to be a brain trauma, brain delivery trauma. This is not about physiological jaundice because they are giving us neurological status, and this is not hemolytic disease of newborn. There's nothing showing that bilirubin level. It's a little bit, but it's okay, and so on. So this is a condition in which this neurological status is due to the brain delivery trauma. This question is tricky. Please let's watch out for it. Okay, this is like a repetition. Craniocerebral birth trauma is the same thing, just brain trauma delivery. All right. After birth, a child was pale and had arrhythmical breathing. That arrhythmical breathing is the focus in that question. Oxygen therapy did not have any effect. Pulse was weak and rapid. It was difficult to measure arterial pressure accurate. There was no edema. What is the most likely reason for this? So just after birth, I'm sure we are thinking of asphyxia. Asphyxia is a condition whereby there's deficiency of oxygen to body tissues, usually as a result of abnormal breathing. And here we have arrhythmical breathing. So this condition of asphyxia is not pneumonia. They will be telling us other things. Nothing in this option actually is to confuse us. So this condition of asphyxia. Alright, a child was delivered severely premature. So when a child is delivered prematurely, also the lungs might not be very mature. So we have fine bubbling moistures over the lungs. When you are hearing moistures in lungs, it might be due to edema in the lungs. But not just edema, we have bloody foam from the mouth occurred after 2 days. So telexiasis of the left valve of right lung. What is the most probable diagnosis? Surfactants have not been produced enough in this particular patient, and it helps in reducing surface tension. So here we have collapse in lungs. So we have edema, we have hemorrhagic syndrome here, showing as bloody foam from the mouth. So what is most probably diagnosis is edematous hemorrhagic syndrome in this particular patient. Edematous hemorrhagic, not only pulmonary edema, because there's hemorrhage. All right. Why should we consider the dose of antibiotics that will be prescribed in a neonate? So it is simply because the glomerular filtration rate is lower. Most drug metabolites are excreted through the urine, so the glomerular filtration rate in neonates are lower. So because of that, you need to give antibiotics at longer intervals and lower doses. Okay, the same question repeated. A 10-year-old child is sick with chronic viral hepatitis B with marked activity of the process. You can see total bilirubin is 70 and reading through all. What mechanism underlies the transaminase level increase of this child? When you are having elevated level of ASAT and ALAT, the major thing that could cause that is one thing in the liver, that is cytolytic syndrome. When the cells of the liver are being broken down, they release their content, part of it is this ALAT and ASAT. That's why they check for it in hepatitis and so on, because when we have cytolytic syndrome, ALAT and ASAT are increased. So that's cytolysis of hepatocytes. You see, there was another option there as failure of synthetic function of liver. All those ones to be have to do with protein, hypoproteinemia, and so on, like other synthetic function. But ALAT and ASAT is a product of cytolysis. What type of antibodies is going to be diagnostic for a patient that is having autoimmune thyroiditis? And we are told that it's ratio of 1 to 100. Ratio of 1 to 100. Okay. I think most core questions we've talked about all these differentials in internal medicine, and most core questions, I don't know why they really like autoimmune thyroiditis so much. However, just have a back of the mind that autoimmune thyroiditis will give hypothyroidism. So because the autoantibodies are going to later destroy the cells of the thyroid gland. So 14-year-old is presenting irritability, tearfulness, and you can see the girl's irritability gradually gave place to complete apathy, puffy face, soft tissue spasticity, bradycardia, constipation. These are signs of hypothyroidism. What disease is suspected in this particular patient? It's autoimmune thyroiditis at 14 years of age. If it is seborrheic thyroiditis, they give us history of a particular maybe infection, viral infection or so. So, and other conditions here are not typical. Thyroid carcinoma, they do not lymph node and other results. In an analysis of 2-year-old girl, there are recurrent pneumonias. We said before that when we have recurrent pneumonias, we are thinking of mucoviscidiosis, that is cystic fibrosis, with signs of obstruction. So what is the most probable diagnosis in this patient is mucoviscidiosis, pulmonary form. Alright, on third day, you are having a baby with hemorrhagic rash, bloody vomit, black stool, also that means blood in the feces. Examination revealed anemia, extended coagulation time, hematoma. What is the optimal therapeutic tactics in this patient? What is the optimal therapeutic tactics in this patient? The major thing here is that you see, vitamin K is usually not at its peak until the 8th day of life. And so what this child needs is actually this vitamin K to actually curtail this bleeding. And they said on the 3rd day of life. And it's so interesting. I believe that's why maybe God had told Moses and Abraham that the circumcision should be from the 8th day, because science later discovered that it's from the 8th day that vitamin K reaches its peak, so that they won't bleed to death from circumcision. The wisdom of God. 2-month-old full-term child was born with weight 3,500 grams and was on the mixed feeding. Current weight is 4,900. Evaluate the current weight of the child. At 2 months, we spoke about this earlier. So if the weight at birth was 3,500, if we add 600 for the first month, that would be 4,1. Then we add 800 for the second month, that would be 4,9. So this is the correct answer is corresponding to the age. 2 months breastfed child suffers from thick skin hyperemia, sporadic papular segment of the skin of the chest, and back following apple juice introduction. Child is first. So what initial pediatrician status? The child that is having allergy to apple juice. So the best thing to do in this case is just to tell the mother about the diet. If apple juice is a problem, there are many other juices to pick from. Just exclude that in your diet. So clarify mother's diet and exclude obligate allergens. Okay, we have a 5-month-old baby, hematological case. Patient is pale, sleepy, signs of anemia. You can see hemoglobin level is low. Most importantly, color index of 0.7. You know, it said normal color index 0.9 to 1 or 1.1. Some texts tell us 0.85 to 1. So, but here is 0.7, and it's majorly condition of iron deficiency anemia that we have that. And again, I do say they don't tell us about iron for fun. What is, even though it's not in the question, it might still be iron. Look at your color index. What is the most probable cause of anemia? This is iron deficit. Iron deficit. Alright, we have a 7-year-old child with elevation of temperature 40 degrees Celsius. 3 months ago, he presented with fistform swelling of fingers, ankle joint, and knee joint. Anyway, they are giving us signs of rheumatoid arthritis. But this pediatrics 7-year-old, this juvenile rheumatoid arthritis, and you know that one of the diagnoses is that minimum of 6 weeks. Sometimes I can say 3 months, but I know minimum of 6 weeks on the experience of the symptoms. So it's not septic arthritis. They'll be telling us about other history of infectious condition. This is in 3 months patient is took out for rheumatoid arthritis. This is not osteoarthritis. No, it does not usually occur at this age. We have a case of rheumatic fever. An 8-year-old girl complains about joint pain. Temperature is 38. Left cardiac border is deviated by 2.5 to the left. Systolic murmur on apex and 5th point are present. You can see the blood counts. And here is what signs give the most substantial proof for rheumatism diagnosis? You know, we have major and minor criteria for rheumatic fever. So they're asking us which this substantial proof. I think they're actually asking for major criteria by the word substantial proof. And from the option, we know that that is carditis. Carditis. So we have carditis, we have arthritis, we have Sandium scoria, we have erythema marginatum, and there are 5 of them and one other one. 5-year-old child with stigmas of dysembiogenesis. You can see small chin, thick lips, open mouth, hyperthyroidism, has systolic murmur in the second intercostal space to the right of the sternum. So if there's systolic murmur in the second intercostal space to the right of the sternum, what are you thinking about? You are thinking as at that on the right is the aortic valve auscultation, on the left is the pulmonary valve. When you have that at the back of the mind, it will help a lot in case of these kind of questions. The murmur passes back to the neck and so on and so forth, but these have already given us the answer anyway. And you can see that the pressure on the right and left there is a little variation. You can have that in this is a case of aortic stenosis. You can see hypertrophy of right ventricle. I assume that this is a mistake on their part. It's supposed to be hypertrophy of left ventricle, not right, because in the long run they had to try to compensate by ejecting more forcefully, and that will cause hypertrophy of left, not right. So anyways, without this, I will still go for aortic stenosis. Aortic stenosis will give us systolic murmur in the second intercostal space to the right, and sometimes it can cause this a little variation on the right and left. Another condition that can cause variation in right and left blood pressure is tachyarthrosis arteritis, but that's by the way this pediatrics. So again, hypertrophy of right. Okay, we can differentiate it from coarctation of the aorta. Coarctation of the aorta is going to have marked difference in the blood pressure between the lower and the upper extremity. So you have a higher pressure in the upper extremity and much lower pressure in the lower extremity. That would be coarctation of the aorta. So that's that about that. One and a half years child fell ill acutely with high temperature, 38 degrees centigrade, headache, fatigue. The temperature declined on the fifth day. Muscular pain in the right leg occurred in the morning. There were no movement and tendon reflexes. You see, when they are all about muscle, this is a condition of poliomyelitis. Poliomyelitis is a very severe condition to expect in a child between the early age up to 7 years, when you should be careful with it the most. So this is muscular pain. This is typical for poliomyelitis. A 3-year-old child has been delivered to the hospital in soporous state. Child is in sopor. There's sleeping. There's nothing you do that is actually trying to wake the child up. That's soporous state. Considerable hematonia, inhibition of tendon and periosteal reflexes. Look at arterial blood pressure decrease. The child, what is causing all this? The child took some tablet accidentally. The child took tablet accidentally and almost dying accidentally. So such clinical presentations are typical for intoxication with which of the following tablets. What is classical for this presentation is the tranquilizers. Anyway, it's difficult to differentiate with barbiturates because they could almost manifest similarly, but as we've learned here, it's tranquilizers. A 2-month-old child, you can see the birth rate is 5,100, as jaundice or as cry. Now, when you are hearing of umbilical hernia and lag in physical development, that is not adequate physical development, you can think towards the thyroid gland when you are looking at the option. See, liver is plus 2 centimeters, spleen is not enlarged, delayed falling away of umbilical cord rest. Also, you can have that in hypothyroidism in the newborn. So, what serum bilirubin is this? What is the most probably diagnosis? So this is not, all this is not, you can see the erythrocytes and hemoglobin, they are okay, relatively normal. This is a condition of congenital hypothyroidism. So that's what you have for this was cry and delayed falling away of umbilical cord. Alright. A 5-year-old child developed acute disease starting from body temperature rise, this runny nose, cough, and conjunctivitis. We've seen a question like this before. So the 3 C's is a condition of measles. A 3-year-old child fell acutely ill. Body temperature rose to 39.5. Child became inner diarrhea, recurrent vomiting, headache. You say you're having meningeal signs, lumbar puncture performed, spinal fluid is turbid. Spinal fluid is turbid. What are you thinking about? You see pounding reaction is positive. You can see 80% of neutrophils. So what are we thinking about? This is you can see together the temperature. This is a condition of purulent meningitis. Purulent meningitis is bacterial meningitis caused by bacteria, and that is when you have neutrophiliosis, high level of neutrophil in the cerebrospinal fluid. Also in that condition, you can have pounding reaction to be positive and so on. But the most important thing I watch out for when I say meningia, a question on meningitis is the results of the cell. So when I see something like this, I know. And this is not tuberculosis or serous meningitis. The history is going to point to it. This is not hemorrhage, about see the temperature and so on. So we stop there and